Instant reaction to the Kansas City Chiefs trading for Titans wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins here on Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome into the show. We break down NFL and college football news, big storylines, reaction to games, reaction to big moves like this. NFL trade deadline less than 2 weeks away. So let's dive on into it here. The Chiefs trade a conditional fourth-round pick to the Titans for Hopkins. As of filming, we don't have the exact conditions. I would imagine maybe based on playoff success or statistical things, it could turn into a third. But I think the Chiefs basically had one of three options. They were clearly going to add a receiver. One, they could have done this move, which they did for a middle round pick. Two, they could have swung a little bigger and traded for Cooper Kupp, which would have costed a second round pick based on reports. Or three, they could have bought low on like a Mike Williams for a sixth or a seventh round pick. I think this is a happy medium. I don't think Mike Williams moves the needle enough. I think DeAndre Hopkins isn't a true dominant number one anymore, but he did have 1,000 yards last year with Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis. This year, he hasn't been doing much with their quarterback situation. But you would think this would re-energize him a little bit, an opportunity to plug in and essentially be their top target right away. Now, not saying he's going to go in there and in 4 days on Sunday go for 150 yards, but I would imagine they incorporate him into the game plan pretty quickly, and obviously they are hoping that he can play a major role. So we'll talk about the potential impact of this, and toward the end of the video, maybe explore some other trades that could happen around the NFL. But I got a challenge for you guys. I've got a Cooper Kupp trade video queued up, ready to launch here on this channel. And we'll launch it this afternoon if we get at least 200 likes. Otherwise, we'll just launch it tomorrow. So if you want that Cooper Kupp video, hit that like button. Let's get 200 plus likes. And little bonus, if we get 20 plus subscribers, we'll continue to crank out content as well. So hit that like button today. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right, let's talk a little DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs a little bit more here as he goes to Kansas City. And this has been a move that's kind of been in the works for a couple of years. If you remember last offseason when Arizona moved on and he was looking at places to sign, the Chiefs were interested and they tried to bring him in. The reason he went to Tennessee was because they offered him a 2-year deal. Kansas City was only willing to offer him a one-year deal, so Brett Veach did not pull the trigger on that. And now, a year and a half later, midway through the second year of his deal, they end up getting DeAndre Hopkins on board, and clearly they needed a receiver. I mean, Juju had a good game last week or a couple of weeks ago. They bring him back, and all of a sudden he looks like a good player again, 130 yards. Well, he's banged up again, should be back in a few weeks, but he's already been ruled out this week. They obviously lost Rashee Rice earlier in the year, likely for the season. Marquise Brown, likely out for the season. Travis Kelce, while he's healthy and playing, he's not the week-to-week impact guy that he once was. I would expect he turns it up a notch later in the year and in the playoffs, but he's not a guy you can bank on for 10 catches weekly anymore. He's just not. He's only got a limited amount of high-level games left in him. DeAndre Hopkins, again, he's not a top 10 receiver anymore, but he's clearly better than what we've seen in the last couple of years, or in the last really just this year with Tennessee. Now, I will say this. He's dealing with an MCL injury. I think he had a tear in the preseason, and he's playing through it, so I'm not sure the status of that. I'm sure he'll have to complete a physical with Kansas City, and if something was disastrous there, I guess that would revoke the trade. But clearly the Chiefs are comfortable with where he's at pre-physical, and I got to think that he's at least going to help this wide receiver room. I mean, guys, they're getting like McCole Hardman's getting real snaps. And I like McCole. He's a nice gadget player. But McCole Hardman and Noah Gray were their top two players against the 49ers last week. And by the way, they're winning with those guys. So to get a high-level player like Hopkins, it's a signal to me that obviously they were serious about chasing a three-peat. But this is confirmation of that. Like, Hopkins costs a little bit of money for this year. Like, this isn't just a, completely low risk, no money move. Like, they're going to have to take on real money here, but they're serious about chasing immortality. No one has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls in the Super Bowl era. And the Chiefs are trying to become the first team to do that. It's one thing Tom Brady and the Patriots never did. Patrick Mahomes is well aware of that. He wants to chase that history. And, everybody's talking about how Mahomes doesn't look the same. He's this, he's that. Well, one thing I know is that when you watch these games close, and I have, when the game is hanging in the balance, when they're up a score, down a score, needs to make a play to either put the game away or to take the lead, he's making that play more often than not. Today's show is sponsored by Turtle Beach. The number one brand in gaming headsets and accessories is Turtle Beach. We appreciate them for miking us up today. These headsets pick up audio so clearly that you're basically cheating when you play video games. Get 10% off right now with code chat at turtlebeach.com/chat. And I personally recommend that you get their all-new Gen 3 Stealth 600 headset, as it is the best gaming headset out there. You'll hear every footstep, every reload, and every enemy sneaking up on you as if they're in your living room. Turtle Beach gives you a leg up against the competition and in the gaming world. And more than that, it's just going to give you the best overall experience. And if you're like me and you like playing sports games, college football 25, Madden 25, hearing the crowd noises, the broadcast straight into your headset, it's like you're there. It's like you're in that hostile environment. And it's just awesome audio quality. And by the way, the headsets are so comfortable that even if you play games for hours, you're not going to feel too much pressure on your head. So once again, get 10% off with code chat at turtlebeach.com/chat. That link and promo code are in the comments and description of this video. Get started with Turtle Beach today. Appreciate Turtle Beach once again for sponsoring today's show. I just feel like for Kansas City and DeAndre Hopkins, again, this is a we are going to win a third straight Super Bowl type of move. Now, whether or not that happens, who knows? They obviously have to execute in the playoffs and go beat some good teams. Baltimore looks very formidable. Obviously, Buffalo is still good. If Cincinnati makes the playoffs, they're obviously a very capable team. They challenged the Chiefs yet again earlier this year. It's not just this makes them an automatic Super Bowl winner, but they were unbeaten with nobody at receiver, essentially. Now they get a legitimate, at worst, number 2 guy in Hopkins, who's probably going to be their number 1. You got to feel pretty good waking up today if you're Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the boys, because you've got a general manager in Brett Veach who continues to plug away and get you pieces that you need to get to the place where you're trying to go, which, again, is a historic place in winning a third straight Super Bowl. All right, before we get out of here, let's just kind of talk about some other dominoes that could fall before the NFL trade deadline. We're 13 days away, November 5th coming up quickly at the trade deadline. We've already seen Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, and DeAndre Hopkins get moved. Clearly, it's a pretty busy wide receiver market. I think other receivers that I would expect to get moved. Cooper Kupp feels like the next big domino. Mike Williams in New York is probably on the move as well. We'll see if a couple others get moved at the trade deadline or not. Does Jacksonville move like a Christian Kirk? Could that be a possibility if they keep losing? Certainly a few other names I would imagine are going to surface between now and 2 Tuesdays from now. But again, 200 likes. We'll have a full Cooper Kupp video later today. But I would imagine that the team you're looking at who has been interested in receivers, who's been trying to add a piece there, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are they going to swing for Kupp? Do they settle for Mike Williams? They were in on Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk ends up staying in San Francisco, now out for the season. They were in on Devontae Adams. He wanted to go to the Jets. They clearly want to add a piece. And Russell Wilson at least looked formidable for one start. So if they can get one more weapon on the outside with how good that defense is and the way they can run the football, Pittsburgh could be a more dangerous playoff team than they've been in recent years. So definitely keep an eye on them. I also look at, after this Hopkins to Kansas City move, the Baltimore Ravens. Like, are you going to make a move, offense or defense, to try and counter this Hopkins move? Because as good as Baltimore's playing right now, Kansas City has been their kryptonite. We saw it in week 1. We saw it in the AFC Championship last year. We've seen it throughout Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson's careers. Like, if I'm Ravens ownership in that front office, I'm looking at how I'm playing like right now, and I'm thrilled. But I also see that DeAndre Hopkins Chiefs move, and I'm saying we need to make a move of our own. Like, you got to keep taking swings when you're in this Lamar Jackson peak of his career window right now. And him and Derrick Henry, it feels like they could take that next step. but do you get them one more piece? Do you get an elite pass rusher? Do you go after Cooper Kupp to add another piece to that offense? Their receiving core has been a little banged up this year. I think that's a team that you got to be serious about making a move. We saw Buffalo get Amari Cooper as well. So the Chiefs and Bills, they've added a piece. Is Baltimore going to be next? I would have to think that John Harbaugh would want to get another piece added to that roster, whether it's on offense or defense. They could use another weapon. They could certainly use a defensive piece, as their defense has at least taken a step back compared to where they've been last year. So we'll see what happens next. I mean, the trade deadline's still 13 days away, and we've already seen a lot of action with DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City as the most recent move. Going to be a fascinating 10, 12 days leading up to the deadline to see what's next, because I would guarantee more moves are coming. All right, shout out to Verts or shout out to you guys for tuning into Verts. Hopefully you guys say shout out to Verts. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We cover the NFL and college football here on a daily basis. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We will continue to crank out content here on this show. My name is Harrison Graham. We will see you guys soon here on Verts.